We are recording. Right, we're in. Back for another show. I think I'm going to call this the Daily Maguire, right? That's the show name. Little catch up of all the day's news, or just topics, right? The topics that have been kind of like leading the way, the discussions, the dialogues to get involved in. But yeah, the hot topic of the day seems to be the kind of Man United are going to get rid of 325 players. Everybody must go. And yeah, the narrative basically is talking about all the players that aren't here at the moment. So it's like Greenwood and Sancho, getting rid of Martial, all the ones the fans hate, right? Getting rid of basically all the players that are dead wood. I hate that word, but yeah, dead wood. And I think people are missing a trick with what could be achieved this summer with the kind of rotation of players. We're heading into this new era without Ten Hag, ironically, probably. But we're heading into this new era with the new regime. And I think when you look at the assets we have, instead of trying to rely on selling like 14 players for the sum of 70 million and trying to get through all these little bitty transfers and banking on that being our transfer kitty, I think we're missing like the more effective and glaring option. We've got two players in Rashford and Bruno Fernandes that are like actual assets in the transfer market for some performance-based elements and others from off-field marketing genius and just stature, right? That they're big names. They'll command somewhat of a value. And the biggest thing what they'll do is they'll actually change the style of play that we'll be trying to achieve. Because getting rid of all these deadwood players, will raise some form of money. It'll deplete our squad for starters, getting rid of such a huge amount of players, and I think such a massive turnover isn't necessarily the most strategic and smartest thing to do. I think the effectiveness of selling two prized assets like Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, if possible. I know that's not necessarily realistic, but in a hypothetical world or in an ideal world, you'd be able to get rid of both of them, and that would really cement the style that the club would be looking to kind of implement, or it would be showing the fans and the world where we're not looking to be, right? It wouldn't necessarily suggest the exact style that Manchester United would be wanting to play, but getting rid of two players like Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, one suggests that we'd be looking for personalities and characters that aren't so kind of self-fulfilled and so self-indulgent. I think Rashford and Bruno Fernandes show different styles of how you can be self-indulgent on a football pitch and off it. So I think in terms of character and personality, they're our leading lights. And that's the reality of what's become of Manchester United, that Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford are the two leading lights of the squad in regards to playing style, in regards to personality on the pitch. And that just shines through. Our playing style is as matched to Bruno's and Rashford's strengths as we can possibly make it. Eric Ten Hag has fully, completely relied on those two, and he's put his every egg, bro, even the egg that is him. He's put everything in the basket, of Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford because of the performances last season and the goals Marcus got and how much they got him out of the shit. But those two players would be massive statements for the new era of Manchester United, this new playing style. So during this summer, we'll most likely, in my opinion, they will be looking for another manager. So a new manager is more than likely going to come in the summer. So as the new manager comes in, which will be, it makes so much sense that it will be someone of De Zerbi's type with a philosophy of playing football. Real football on the ground, angles, triangles. So if you're going to go down the De Zerbi route, or you're going to go down the route of trying to play really, really good football, Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, they don't fit into that category. They don't fit into that style. You might rate them as players, and you might say that how effective they are, etc. But they can't play in that style. They are a detriment to that style. So, if they're not going to work for your new project and they've got a really high value, so it's imperative on the style front and the financial front. It makes complete sense. Rashford's like probably the highest earner now, so that's another one of these high earners he can get out of the door. So in a sense, it makes more sense to sell those two kind of prized assets, and it would show me so much more intent than us relying on selling like Lindelof and Malacia because he's always injured or something, and then try and get rid of Sancho for like 15 mil, and like Martial goes cool, Amrabat's going back on loan, like who else can we get rid of? It's like this kind of quick fire sale stuff. Even though that still might happen, we still might have to get rid of these players. It still might make sense to get rid of all this dead wood. But all I'm saying is that look at it from the perspective of there's just another angle to it. There's another way of going about this. There might be a more effective way, not just financially, but as a statement. And also, it will change our style of play. If you get rid of Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, everyone goes, oh, it would fall apart without them two. If it wasn't for them last season. But say, if we can just actually have the conversation, if you did get rid of those two players, then it would force, like, how would it look like? That's what's important about this. Instead of people losing their minds about their favourite player being sold or being talked about being sold, look at it from a perspective of, right, without them, how would it look? What would we have to do differently? So we wouldn't have Bruno's, like, hero balls or crosses or long diagonals and his, like, dogged energy running at keepers from 40 yards, and you wouldn't have Rashford's threat, right? Because Rashford just carries this threat, doesn't he? This like I don't know. People think he's got this like aura that he might do something. Anyway, so without what would we be like without them? So we probably would just be more considered, just naturally. Unless you were wanting to buy complete replicas, which you wouldn't, right? You were trying to go down this new style. So the players that were being bought in, or even the current players, you would just see things slow down. Like just not playing Bruno. Just leave Rashford now, because Rashford doesn't actually get in the way of anything. We're just playing a man down. He doesn't do fuck all, but it's not as detrimental as Bruno. So just taking him out of the team once everyone settles down and stops panicking, because I think that like Old Trafford's gonna fucking cave in, like Baines on there with the microphone, telling everybody that the world's about to end, and the floor's not gonna cave in from underneath, right? So once we all settle down after 20 minutes or half an hour of Bruno not being in the team and watching us actually like keep possession, and thinking, oh man, we look a bit more compact, don't we today? Well, that's interesting. The manager must be doing something. No, the geezer that just hoofs the ball forward at any opportunity negates us any option whatsoever to be compact. The defense pushes up, right, to try and be as close to the midfield as possible. But as soon as the ball enters that quartet, Bruno and the front three, as soon as they get their hands on the ball, the ball's just gone. The attack lasts 5 seconds, right? So, like, once you as a defence keep trying to push up and keep trying to push up play, but then the ball's coming straight back, it's just like common, like human nature, like animal instinct, that if you continuously keep trying to do something and you're constantly then getting caught, or it keeps coming back, you're then just going to be way more apprehensive to actually push up and squeeze and to create like a compact team. If this way is constantly just going and going and going and going, like there's no time to move as a compact unit. If nobody's coming to the ball from that quartet, like how hilarious is it that you've got such an unbalanced four? And that's when everyone's fit, right? So yeah, getting rid of two of that quartet to start with. Like, this is ideal, isn't it? Rashford and Bruno get sold, and Højlund and Garnacho are impact subs. And that's literally the crack. And if you can then build up Garnacho's like profile even more and then get rid of him for 40, 50 million, that'd be incredible. But the ideal scenario, Rashford and Bruno sold, Højlund and Garnacho on the bench as impact subs, and then you build a new quartet, a new front four. And the ironic thing is, and people don't want to talk about it, but you've got Ahmad, you've got Sancho, you've got Greenwood. I know Martial's injured, but he's finally trying to get himself fixed now with this operation. And I know he's going to go, but just again, in hypotheticals, you've got... literally, you could play... like, how do you want to play it? You can play Martial up top, you play Ahmad on the right, you play Sancho on the left, and you play Greenwood in the hole. I promise... I know everyone thinks that's like the hipster team. Oh, mate, you just like skills and like street ball, and you're like, just like, oh, you know nothing, man. Like, don't let these fucking tactico dorks, right, tell you about what's a good player, right? And football's more than just technique, you know. Yeah, we do know that, mate. But I'm telling you now, our back six, if you want to call it that, or a back seven, including Onana, all the way through to Mainu and Casemiro. I'll tell you what, if you got them in a room and you said, which front four would you rather play with? Which front four is more secure? Bruno, Rashford, Højlund and Garnacho, or Greenwood, Martial, Ahmad and Sancho? It's interesting. Ten Hag could have gone either way, but he went with the action men, mate. He went with the loud actions. And fair enough, it's a Premier League. I can see what he's doing. We can all see why he did it. Absolutely cacked his pants after the first two games. And then he went with this more robust, dynamic style, right? We're going to be the team. We're going to run down the Premier League. You can't do it, mate. We're going to be the best pressing team on earth. And just in regards to the signings that we speak, or the sales that we're on about, if you just look at the players he signed before he experienced the Premier League. So he signed Martinez, Eriksen, Malacia, Anthony, right? Let's just start there. They're all tiny dudes, man. Like, there's nothing on any of those, but they're all technical, and they're all also IQ is quite good, and they're safe on the ball, and they've got decent character, whether you like Anthony's character or not, but they've got something about them, right? But he signed, so that player profile is a player profile to add technical ability and technical like prowess and composure to the team. And then obviously we were trying to get De Jong, right? So then you're thinking about that then. That 5 that he would have signed, including De Jong, it's just purely trying to play, really, like trying to keep the ball and play good football. Now, and then we end up signing Casemiro, right? But in between signing Casemiro and the rest of those players, we start the season and we get absolutely twatted by Brighton and Brentford. And it's so wild that you would just change everything after 2 games. It's so and because and this is what we all thought. Oh, he's just going. The ship's sinking, and he's just trying to do whatever he can to get us as high as a position as possible this season. But what started happening was something that was a band-aid and something that was just used to kind of like fix a gap last season when after the first 2 games, after it all started going to pot, something that was meant to be a stopgap and the pragmatism was meant to be a stopgap. What started happening is Ten Hag started falling in love with it. And he's in the right environment to fall in love with that. He's in the Premier League. He watches week in, week out, all these teams, incredibly physical, set pieces, quite pragmatic. But the what he missed out is these teams also play. They also play football. But he fell in love with the dynamic, pragmatic almost style. But he coupled that with this intensely aggressive front 5 press. Just absolutely bonkers. Like Ten Hag is different to Ollie because he does know everything he needs to know. He knows it all. It's not like this guy doesn't know. It's not like he hasn't got the knowledge base to make decisions or correct decisions or brave decisions. It's got nothing to do with not being capable.